Hello, my YouTube friends. March 24th, about 6:50. I'm done for the day. Heading back home. Did a lot of work in the back, clearing more fence. A lot of hackberries there. Oh my God. And my chainsaw really not up to the task. But anyway, that's a different matter. I want to throw my 2 cents about the whole YouTube censorship of gun channels. And I've been looking more into it. Well, I guess they are they are serious about it. Uh, they Earlier in the week, I made a comment on sellers' channels that I probably changed my mind a little bit on it since I made that comment, but it doesn't really change that much. I saw Reed Hendricks' video saying that he's being demonetized, that he's got a couple of strikes, I think, I'm not sure, and that he's moving his stuff over to Patreon to follow him there. Then short after, I saw Patriot Nurse along the same lines, that she's about to be demonetized, and she's got a couple of strikes. Yeah, I'm just paraphrasing here, and also to follow her on Patreon, because Google is cracking down on gun channels and liberty-minded channels, etc. Fair enough. I do not think that all the gun channels are being demonetized or being hit. Maybe they are. I think the ones that are being hit the hardest are the ones that are not just running guns and doing gun reviews and to Hickok doing a fun shooting. I think the ones that are being targeted are the ones that are talking about liberty, talking about the Second Amendment, talking about what you would do with your AR-15 if the shit hit the fan and the government comes knocking at your door, and da 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 da. Those are the ones that are being hit the hardest. Right, wrong, that's not the point. The point is that YouTube is a private corporation. They have a fiduciary responsibility to their stockholders primarily. And their stockholders make money if YouTube gets a lot of revenue from sponsors. Sponsors like Procter & Gamble, Honda, Kraft, you name it. Anytime you see an advertisement, that's a sponsor. That's how YouTube makes money. Now, if you're wondering, if you thought that YouTube was this benevolent entity that just allowed you to run your mouth and not charge you for bandwidth, well, you're wrong there too. You are the product in YouTube. It's like when you sit at a poker table, and after 5 minutes, if you cannot figure out who the sucker is, you're probably the sucker. Same here with YouTube. If you cannot figure out how YouTube lets you, how YouTube makes money, that's because you're the product. You and your audience, myself included, Every time you hit like on a video, YouTube knows that you hit like on a video that showed a Ford F-150 or a Ford 250 diesel, etc. And they're going to put an advertisement from Ford or from Chevy or from Dodge in front of you. They're not going to put a Prius in front of you. And see, you're a commodity. YouTube will get all these people that are hitting likes and dislikes on videos, commenting, and believe me, they go through your comments. And they form blogs, and they can say, they can go to Ford and says, I have 3 million people that are very, very likely to pull the trigger on a truck, and they're undecided. And they know this. They know this because people go to YouTube to research cars all the time. Moreover, Google tracks you when you ever make a search on Google. They also track you. So don't think that the Google browser is also free. They're also tracking you. The whole Google ecosystem is, you are the product. You get free email, but your email's being scanned. You get free bandwidth, but your bandwidth is being scanned. Your comms are being scanned. Everything. You are the product. You're being sold. What you like, what you don't like, da 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 da. So that's how the Alphabet company makes its money. So if advertisers find themselves in a pinch because of Parkland or whatever other shooting of the week, and they don't want to associate their content with gun channels, especially the type that kind of go a little off the deep end, nothing wrong with that. Believe me, I enjoy those channels. I enjoy passionate debate, passionate discussions, passionate rhetoric about the Second Amendment and the Constitution. But I'm just telling you, that's why those channels are being hit, because advertisers don't want us to associate themselves with that. They don't care. They don't care that you know the Constitution and you know your rights and all this shit. They don't give a shit about that. Now this is YouTube. YouTube gives a shit about their advertisers because their advertisers are the ones paying the bills, and their advertisers are the ones that are ultimately making their stock price go up. Now, I heard Reed and Patriot Nurse, and I'm just using them too because I followed them. I subscribed to both of them, and I saw them come out and say this. And nothing against them. I like their channels very much. I heard them say that they're going to go to Patreon, and I've heard others say they're going to go to Patreon. Well, I think that's a big mistake. Why? Because Patreon is it's a platform that allows you to get a subscription base of users. You know, so for example, I follow at least 60, 70 channels on YouTube. Some are about gardening, some are about farming, some are about trucks, some are about guns, etc. My taste is not very diverse, but it could be probably channelized in one direction. And I follow all those guys, and if those guys would start to get censored, and they all opted to go out to Patreon, well, I wouldn't follow them. That would be me making of Patreon like my cable subscription. I gotta pay $1 for this guy, and then $1 for that other guy, and $3 for the other guy, and it's a clusterfuck, really. I'm not gonna follow anybody because, first of all, a lot of the things that these guys are saying is entertainment value for me, and for most people it is entertainment value. I mean, we're not rediscovering we're not rediscovering anything here. Nothing's new under the sun. Most of us adults with a decent education pretty much are aware of all these things already. We just like the way sometimes the sentiment is expressed with a lot of passion. I mean, I listen to Patriot Nurse because that lady puts some passion in her videos, right? Puts a little fire under your ass. I listen to Reed Hendricks because, quite frankly, I don't know much about guns, and the guy brings a lot of good content, but I wouldn't go pay for it. I mean, quite frankly, I'd rather go take a class than pay for a subscription. So I don't think that's the route to go. Now, there are other platforms out there. I've been looking at a platform called DTube, like Daniel Tube. And this platform is based on blockchain. It runs on a blockchain. So really it's not owned by anybody. It is... your content is generating... Every time your content is being viewed, it generates a cryptocurrency that has a parity with the US dollar or with any other currency in the world. And every time your videos are viewed, you get likes, dislikes, whatever, the content provider gets money. And your videos cannot be censored. That's the thing about blockchain. You know, just like a Bitcoin transaction. Once you make a Bitcoin transaction, it becomes public record. They know who made it, even though that wallet is just a series of numbers and it's not necessarily has your mug face on it. But it's open record. It's there forever, right? So if you put your face on DTube, know that you're not going to be able to delete that video forever. It stays there, and it cannot be censored. Now that has a double-edged sword, right? Sometimes I see a lot of people, all these channels that sometimes they're going through a period in their lives when they see a lot of shit, and then they delete all their crap and restart fresh. That's not possible. Because, well, you're doing video, right? Your face is out there. So that's one technology that I see coming. It's pretty good. It pays very good for content providers. It pays good for good commenters. You create an account, even for you commenting, you may get a little bit of the cryptocurrency they use. So it's very interesting. Go look it up. It's called DTube. And the way it is you open an account. They take about they're taking about a week to a week and a half to create the account, because somebody's got to pay with the cryptocurrency the opening of that account. And once you open it, then you start running your videos through there. Well, depending on how many likes and you get, you start getting money in cryptocurrency, which you can exchange for other cryptocurrency or for actual cash. Now, that's the way that works, and that cannot be censored. That cannot be removed. It's there. So it has pros and cons. But I would advise all those guys going to Patreon. I think you're making a mistake. Go to another platform. Look into the platforms that are being run on blockchain. DTube is just one of them, but there's many things being run on blockchain. And blockchain is an up-and-coming technology. It will be huge. It will be what the internet was in the 90s, and it's just going to grow. I think this is where this is headed. We're at the beginning stages of it. It's worth learning about it. Go check it out in case you guys ever want to migrate your content or start migrating it slowly. And there's a lot of good videos out there too. It's not like there's very few videos. There's a lot of good videos. Sometimes it's a little slow. That's what I've noticed. But it'll get better. It will only get better if people go down that path. But Patreon, I think that's a transition technology to something else, right? It's just like when you have a forest and you trash it down and you start getting those nasty cedars coming up. A transition to another forest. That's what it is. Now, on the other hand, Google or YouTube, they're playing a very dangerous game with this, because see, YouTube and Google and all that's a whole ecosystem. I have music on YouTube, I have files, I have email, I have videos, I have a lot of things. It's a whole ecosystem. The Google ecosystem, I would say, is bigger than the Apple ecosystem. I know some Apple guys are not going to like it, but I think it has grown tremendously. And it's all free. Caveat, you're the product, okay? Don't be fooled that it's free. You are the product. But it's out there. Very functional, very very useful. I love it. All my videos get backed up to Google. I have a Pixel phone. I love this phone. It's freaking amazing camera. And that ecosystem is fragile, though. Like anything, like a forest, like a forest, in the wilderness. You take out an animal out of the wilderness, and then the forest resents it. You take out some trees, the forest resents it. You take out enough elements out of that ecosystem, and it collapses. Ecosystems collapse, and their collapse is not linear. It is fast, or once it reaches critical mass, it just collapses exponentially, I would say. So Google is really walking a very thin line, censoring these channels, because when I come to Google, I look at other things. I just don't look at guns. And that's why I won't go to Patreon just to look at guns. No, I have many interests. I'm a person, I'm not two-dimensional. I'm not just a guy that looks at videos and that's it, certain type of videos. But when Google starts doing that, and I start seeing a little value in coming to Google because other platforms are offered me more value, at that point I will leave Google. I will leave YouTube, and that's it. And when 10-15% of the people leave, that's the end of that ecosystem. So Google walks a very thin line doing this. They crunch data for a living. I'm sure they know, and they've done the math on it. But some things you cannot predict, like the collapse of a system. And a lot of times, the people who work at Google, the knee-jerk reaction of the executives at the companies that sponsor the ads, the knee-jerk reaction of the executives at Google gets the best of them, and they put logic and reason aside and go with emotion, and that's where they can fail. It's not for lack of engineers crunching numbers, and I'm sure they got a bunch of guys that tell them, hey guys, don't fuck with these channels because it's bad business, but they're still doing it because they're politically correct or because they're a bunch of doofus. But eventually, this is going to come bite them in the ass. That doesn't do anything for Patreon or Rick Hendricks or anybody else who's getting fucked right now. right? But eventually, Google will reap the fruits of their labor too, because the ecosystem can collapse very quickly if you start taking out the blocks out of it. You know, like those little Jenga game. What's it, those little block games where you put the blocks, a little tower of blocks, and you start taking out blocks. Eventually, it collapses. Same thing. So anyway, folks, I think I've gone long enough on this. Check out that place. DTube is a good platform. And if anybody's considering moving somewhere else, don't go to Patreon, please. I mean, that'll be the end of our relationship. And check out the DTube. It's you can monetize it. You can make money there, and nobody will be messing with you. Until next time.